Now we are in Miami, and this is Whitney Hunter performance on my painting Life Marks, which is the last installment. Part of the last installment was exhibited in Miami, and it's part of the world's largest artwork, which is called the triptych. And the measurement of this piece is significant. It's 60 inches tall, which is the highest piece what Whitney is working on the time. Life Marks, and the width of it is 94,060,000 some round up inches, which is the distance between Toronto and Miami. And it sounds absurd, but there is no difference when you're working on a smaller scale triptych. You're working on a first piece in a different time space, and then you're moving, changing location, you're working on the next piece, different time space, and the third one. And the same thing happened in the 9 months period of Toronto, New York, and Miami. Thousands of people worked in different times and space on the 3 exhibitions on different pieces, 12 paintings altogether. Whitney's performance showing something what we are doing. It's kind of a struggle, beautiful dance, what we do in our reality, try to leave a mark. So I think it's a nice expression also of make the art contemporary of representing today time, when these days hands up time and I can't breathe time, where the difference between races are very much in the topic in North America. So I think it is important Whitney did the final touches, the final marks on this piece. It's an honor to me. Life Mark, by the way, was originally painted in 1995. Each time during these 9 months I brought a painting from my own collection from the past to offer it to the present time. I just try to get it close as possible. Okay, here we go. And now I just set up a marker, and that's it. And open this, and at this point, this is a black dot already. It's done. The concept of DOTART starts from the idea of the concept of a point, which is time, space, life, in one space, one existence. It's the smallest unit of this continuum, time, space, life, which results to a point. And everything is starting from that point and evolves from that point and spreads as a dot. As soon as we try to measure it, try to experiment with it or explain it or experience it, it is a dot already. So we do live in the world of a dot, and everything can be considered such as, and we can arguably say if that is true, then point is God. We can consider point to be God because it is everywhere. That's the main source of everything, and because it is identical anywhere it exists and comes to existence, starts to create, then in those spaces and times it's the same as anywhere else, any given time and space, which means if they are identical, all those points, then that means it's the same and it's one. So that's what started the concept, and it started with my first dot when I started to write words for a continuum of time for 1 hour in a defined space of a circle, and then that resulted my dot, which still evolves and still changing. So when I'm doing a show with DOTART, I'm setting up a piece with the middle point. Roughly I try to find it, and then wherever I set it, that comes to be exact point, because we are revolving around that point with the chain and the marker attached to that. So that gives an argument, a valuable argument to whoever leaving the mark at the actual time. They are connected to the same point, whenever somebody follows them and pick up the marker and leave the next mark, they are doing the same thing. So that's why everybody is correct and true in their own illusion, what they create, but it's all reaching back to the same point, which is the only existing true. Everything else as an illusion exists to us as illusions. So it's difficult to grasp, but with this concept of art, it's more easy to see what I'm trying to say, and it's very, very simple. That's why everybody seems to understand now, doing this for 9 months, and had a chance to meet with thousands of people who were participated in my art. I always try to make that clear and state to them, this is no different art, this is the same art, just a different way, explaining the same thing what we all try to do in our life, time, space, life experience. And that's what makes it very valuable and I think interesting. It makes people realize everybody is the same but very different ways. That's a key sentence this art taught me. And we are equally important and valuable. Anybody who leaves a mark, small or big, significant, seems to significant or not significant, they are equally the same, just very different ways, and equals to those who doesn't even leave a mark, who are just in existence in this illusion somewhere else in the universe. Doesn't really matter, they are all in each piece all the time. We are living in this continuum, and always it was always like this and always will be like this. And because it's a continuum, there is no stopping, and there is no beginning. That's the beauty of it, and it's very, very exciting to do this work and give art back to people. And after hundreds of years, pretty much started Renaissance time, artist ego start to develop, and then they start to come out of behind the scenes, when before people did pretty much art with no recognition for the artist so much in most cultures. And then in Renaissance times, the artist, him or herself, came to be very important. So important now there is nothing more left but the ego. The art disappeared these days, and the ego stands in way between artist and art, I find. That art doing exactly the opposite. It takes people back to cave art, to where we create something together, when we enjoy it together, and when we are part of the same thing, just different ways, and we can all understand it and recognize it. After all, they say art is the international language. If it is an international language, then it means to me we all should and would able to understand it. And my argument is we do understand it. We just been told not even to try. And I think that's wrong. Art belongs to the people, and everybody can understand in their own time, space, life experience and on their own illusion. I think that's the beauty of art, and that's the beauty of life, and that's the beauty of time, space, life. It is a collective consciousness. In these pieces we can clearly see that is the case, with time passing on and going on the piece. In the continuum, the paintings come to be more and more recognizably the same. They are all black dots. No matter what color of a marker you set up a piece, this symbolizes everything in life. This is all a black dot. And the beauty of it, each time somebody touching these pieces, they realize they just completed the most recent contemporary artwork in the whole world for that split moment in time, and then people catching up all over the world. But when you touch this piece again, then it comes to be the recent. You try to catch time, try to catch present time, which really of course doesn't exist, only the illusion of it exists. And this is a beautiful thing to see how collective consciousness gathering on these pieces. This art is interactive. Of course, every art is interactive. Every art is changing all the time in the continuum. This is just more out in the open, easier to understand to people, and they do understand it very well. Also, it's a performance. Every art is a performance. Artists performing it when they creating art in their studios or wherever. And of course it is participatory. Every art is participatory because when you exhibiting, you asking for participation. So every art is doing exactly like this. When I'm asking for participation, I'm asking for people show how much they matter, how much their existence and present matter, and they can influence the piece, they can change it. But that's with every art. Every art is changing and influenced by the presence of others, or even the exclusion of others. And just being in the same existence, we changing each other life all the time. This is not the first time you probably heard that, but this is the time when we can realize it through that art, how easy it is to show and understand. We are all coming from that same point. We are all connected to it. Whatever we do, it's coming out of that point. That point is everywhere. That point exists in our brain and different parts of our brain. It's everywhere. It's in the continuum on unlimited places and unlimited existence. So that's why it is so important to get this concept, and then don't argue much with each other. We still will, but if we understand that is because we are all coming, all our information, all our subconscious coming from the same point, but we are experiencing a different way, so we are feeding back different informations, meaning arguments to each other and to this continuum. And that is the problem. That's why we go to war against each other. That's why we argue with each other and fight with each other. We shouldn't do that. If we are truly humans, we should realize what is happening. If we are an intelligent creature, then we should really grasp how amazing and important each individual is, and everything is an individual in themselves. That art proved to me everything is alive. If you argue the painting is growing by feeding it with information and with material, then it's the same thing as any other life form, and then it is intelligent. It's feeding you information back, it's communicating with you. If there is communication, there is intelligence. So this piece is just proving, because everything is like this. Not only these pieces, they are just very, very much simplified, abstract, so we can all understand it. Then we see everything in existence works like this, in this continuum. So this chain defines a space. This is the space. This allows me to do my that and no more. This is my time, space, life. Well, we can see right now I'm going to still lower. Now, I do like to show something very, very important, which I think explains everything in life. There's a strip of paper which we can connect it such a way, make a circle. If we make one twist, as we all know, then we complete a Möbius strip or circle. It was discovered by, I believe, an Italian mathematician in the 1800s, and it bears his name. So anyway, here it is. When we're talking about symbols, one of the ancient symbols, the most ancient one, is the circle. They say it is because it represents the sun. Then came the triangle, represents God or heavens, and then come square, represents earth. And what I'm saying, it's very well possible, it's all true, but it's based on something fundamental, which is this. If we consider this as a circle, but a strange one, which represents one-sided being the infinite, I don't believe it's infinite. I think it's a continuum, which perfectly shown on this piece. It's the continuum. Now here we go. When we flatten this piece to 2-dimension, today's scientists, by the way, say information is 2-dimensional. So when I'm doing this, I'm flattening this piece to the 2-dimensional space, a flat space, then I create a triangle. Now what I find it's very interesting, if I cut this strip in half, then like this, what happens, we all think if you cut this in half, since the half line being the half of it, you think you're creating 2, right? But not so. It's still one piece. But what is changing, and this is significant, what's changed is couple of things. First of all, if I flatten this to this 2-dimensional space, I'm gonna do this like this so I can succeed hopefully faster. So then we can see what is happening. Then I'm creating, not me, but what's being created is a square. It's a square. So now it's flat to the surface. Okay, so this is the information of it. It is a square. You can try this at home. What's significant, by this point when it's a square, it's not a continuum anymore. There is 2 sides to it. Again, if you follow this line with the marker on one side, you will realize you stay on one side and you're not crossing to the other side. Now here comes another and very important aspect of it. If I'm cutting this to half again, then I can tell you, to save time, what will happen. It will double now, but it will be identical to what it is now, to be 2 squares interlocking, meaning both of them will be 2-sided, so it's not one side anymore. It's not a continuum like it was on the Möbius strip originally. And after that, because they are the same squares interlocking with each other, anytime we're doing this with any of them now, they are resulting the same thing. They're gonna double and they're gonna stay a square. Okay, so you better do this at home and take my word for it. These are squares. When you flatten this to the surface, they fold 4 times, creating 4 squares each of them. And I say we live in this world. We live in the world of a dot, of an illusion, first of all, but this also represents where we live. This is how our cells are doubling. We are reproducing such a way. And we are definitely not infinite. We are in the continuum, but not even the continuum itself. We are just part of it. We are an illusion of it. So try it. I'm kind of back from the future. This part is being shot actually after I did my little movie on the birth of DOTART, and I find maybe something I should answer and maybe something missing which I should put into the beginning of the movie. And this is as follows, it's the why. Why I think it's important and why I did what I did. Well, in my art, for about 30 years, since I started to do more than 30 years ago, at age 14, I considered I started to be an artist and try to find what we surrounded with, and I was always looking for the whys, the two opposites, as I mentioned, the duality of our world, which exists everywhere, the red and blue, hot and cold, the high and low, everything is in duality. But later I find the observer is the third part is very important, so then I called my style red and blue meeting in the triangle. And dot art came to me very suddenly. This is a concept, time, space, life. I start to think about when I read a statement by Leonardo da Vinci on life. It's a philosophical statement by him, and it's beautiful. He says something similar to we're longing for something all our life and we don't know what it is. We all share this experience, this longing. And then he said he figured out this longing is nothing else but to go back where we're coming from, to the nothing, to the nothingness. So this fits and this suits to this theory of dot art or dotism, because the point is where we longing. We are connected to it, and we all subconsciously know about it because we are a product. We are the productum of that point in this dot world, but we cannot really grasp it, or usually we cannot explain this longing. So I think that's important. And also in my art, back to my art, I try to show this before different ways to see where the paintings starts and ends. So I did paintings where I casted my body or other people's body into the surface for that reason, and then because they were concave, then the way it was lit, they turned an illusion of them turned to be positive, which is contradicting what they are. They were actually embedded into the surface. So it shows the in and out again, the duality. Then I later used in Wet Dreams series, I used mirrors in my paintings, bedded in and behind the canvases, and I tried to show the observers completing the works each time, present time, with the present, with the figure showing in the mirror and find themselves in the mirror, which I think is great. So again, it's all the same thing. It's all dot art always. Every art is dot art really. But this way, dot art, the way I find to show it now, it is purely close to the point as possible. And I think that's a key thing. Anything is good and true in life. It is better when it is closer to the point, closer to the truth, the only truth which we could never reach, but we know that's where we're coming from. And this art, I think, it's really, really damn close to that point. And I think that's why people can relate to it. It's like good music. They talk about great music can be simplified to such an interval when you realize, well, the more we like a music, the more simple it is in the base of it. And I'm talking about classical music. I'm not talking about just beat, hard and harsh beat, bass music today, what we surround ourselves with, and most people enjoy it. So I think these are key aspects, and it's important to include there. That's what started this concept, and that's what I was looking for and searching. Time, space, life, how to show it, how to get people involved. The painting should never stop changing in the visible way, so pretty much directed by the artist as the concept, and this doing that. As I mentioned later in this movie,
And always I say everything is in the continuum and everything is changing, but in DOTART it's also recorded and it also marked. That's another thing. Mark is important, and the marker itself, because we are all, I believe, leaving life marks, and we want to artists even more so. We don't want to just vanish away and disappear from this experience. We are egocentric and we try to leave a mark. Everybody try to leave the mark, but artists are more so. So that's why we create. That's why we have this urge to create, to leave something significant. Some people do this with their money, and they buy big buildings and they put their name on top of the buildings, to doing the same thing, leave a mark, a visible mark behind, to show they are important, and after they gone, they are not vanishing away in their mind. And I think that's what is important for humanity usually, and that's what we do. Well, animals probably mark territory for the same reason, right? Not only for mating, but they want to show they are important and they leave a mark. So that's what all these led to DOTART, where we're talking about participation, people influence, art being changed in the continuum of time as close as possible to the point, to present time, and having tons of information, because I think that's another thing. Information and the message in art is the most important thing. There is like everything in life, and art is really should be an abstracted version of what is happening. In my language, in Hungarian, for a piece of art, which is műalkotás, it's a very interesting thing, because the word itself kind of I can translate it as fake creation, which I think is true.
We do live in remarkable times. By remarkable, I mean we live in times where we do remark everything, rewrite everything, information, the way we store and send. It is very different, significantly different in a digital age than we did before. But this digital age helps us to understand the concept of time, space, life as a continuum, and the concept of a point. Making dots, we realize we are each time leaving a mark, we are created a dot, and each dot just a mark itself on a bigger picture. Slicing time, we do it all the time. There's no other concept for us and method for us to understand and capture time, the slice of time. We do it on films. We are having frames beside each other and create an illusion as a continuum, yet we cannot capture continuum. The concept of averaging is very important, because it shows us the collective consciousness is the way to go that can lead us to the true answer to any question we ask. Collective consciousness have the answer. One person cannot be correct and right. It takes everybody to get close to the truth as possible, because we all coming from the same point, and more of our illusion we compare and average out, closer to the truth we get.
Until now, I was I let people to do whatever they wish on their free will on each pieces I exhibited. Now I'm changing something. I will myself start a series of 4 paintings where I'm just gonna do one word on each piece, on 3 of them. One will be love, another will be peace, and the third one will be happiness. And on the 4th piece, I will just combine these 3 words and use these 3 words to fill the space, to create a dot. And my idea is now to try to do this with the participating people, let them know what to write. So each time one piece, one of these paintings, one of these works will just represent a collective consciousness of that one thought, whatever that thought might be. I find these words are everywhere in the 9 months. It occurred everywhere. People are writing this, and a symbol of peace and love. They do it all the time, and I find it's amazing how everybody going back to the original root. Usually same thing happens on my pieces, what in people's life when they walk in the forest and they leave an initial carved in the tree bark by them to leave a mark behind, or scratch it in a piece of stone. I find it fascinating. It's a pure form of art. It's a pure joy what people are experiencing and digging back to their roots, close to the point as much as possible. And I find that's beautiful and amazing and very, very uplifting. And that's why I dedicate the next pieces to this cause, and let's see what happens and where it takes us all. Okay, I did it. Here is 4 pretty much identical looking DOTART pieces. What I was mentioning I will do. From the left to the right, the first one is love, written for 20 minutes on the surface. The second one is peace, written for 20 minutes in the continuum of time. The third one is smile, which to me represents happiness, written for 20 minutes for the continuum of time. And the 4th one, the title is happiness, but it's actually 3 written words combined: pain, war, death. It is, I think, surprising. The result is this. in there, in the middle of that hole, there is a point exists. That's the only truth, and that's the point which is everywhere. And that is DOTART.